It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, we are back. It is the unofficial 40 podcast from Soonerscoop.com, and the gang is all here. It is a big week as OU hits the practice fields for fall camp, preseason camp. I always call it fall camp. I realize it's 100 degrees outside. Well, it hadn't been lately, but it's hard to call it fall camp. Preseason camp. I think I'm just going to start calling it that. That starts up on Friday. We've got Media Day tomorrow. Oklahoma still currently, at last check, in the Big 12 Conference. Bob Bowlesby's out dating the Pac-12 right now. Welcome in, guys. Josh, how's the wife doing? I know, can we talk about her recent struggles?
Yeah, we kind of have to a point, because I am playing Mr. Mom, so there could be an absolute Layla break-in at any time.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, she broke in right before we got started, and I had to mute myself and explain to her she can't be in here right now. So I have given them, as every parent can relate to, they are on their iPads watching unstoppable amounts of time of YouTube Kids. So I am just allowing them to – I'm being my worst parenting self at the moment.
So your wife got the COVID. Mm-hmm. She's a nurse.
Well, yep. Had a little cocoa scare. Mm-hmm.
And she'd been vaccinated, so it wasn't like she was, she's a truther or anything.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. Tiffany was, because she's in healthcare, she was vaccinated very, very early. And, had kind of the same story not everybody, but most everyone that's vaccinated is telling. She had some mild symptoms. Really, and I know Eddie kind of touched on it, just fatigue. I mean, just a lot of fatigue. She's real worn out for a couple of days. Really gotten better over the last 48 hours and kind of had passed a lot of her work protocols to where, they kind of would allow her to return. So she is this is her first day back in the world. So, of course, we're going to pod today with the girls chaotic. They've been home with me with me and her for 10, 12 days now. So it has been it's been a run. I am ready to literally do anything but play, I don't know, with Legos or anything else, just anything not kid related.
I'm curious, how hard do you have to work to keep the girls away from her during that time? If they know she's there and they probably want to see her really bad because they haven't seen her in a couple of days, how hard is that?
Lainey, it's really simple. Lainey's 7. She gets it. And, she's heard of it so much that, I don't want to say it scares her, but she respects what it is. She's like, okay, that's bad. I don't want to be that. And she's got, a friend's birthday party not far down the road. So we're like, you can't go to that if you're, you kind of can work out that contact situation. Layla, a little more complicated. She's 3.5, and she is my impulsive, just does whatever the hell she wants to do all the time. So gotta work on that a little bit. I won't say security was always as good as it should have been, but we didn't have any huge scares.
See, it is so odd I distinctly remember when this whole thing started and us doing pods and talking about it. And tomorrow, I think the spring game was you still kind of knew it was there, but it was the first time that you could kind of sit around and feel like, oh, we're finally getting on the other side of this. And now tomorrow with Media Day, it's kind of a reminder that we're not on the other side of this yet because we have to wear masks into the Switzer Center. We have to interview the players over Zoom. We do get to talk to Alex Grinch and Lincoln Riley in person. Do we have are we talking to Bill tomorrow too? I don't have the schedule.
Mm-mm. Nope.
God damn it. So yeah, there's my disappointment on air. So yeah, we're back to it being weird a little bit again. I don't even know where my masks are at. I haven't worn them in so long.
Might have to stop by a Walgreens or something later today. I'm kind of in the same boat. No comment.
We bought 100-pack at Sam's last year.
I did buy a couple.
What'd you throw into the bonfire that you came to the mask burning party with?
It was an empty box.
Gosh, no comment on the setup for tomorrow. I think that'd be the safest way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating.
Hey, at least it's not all on Zoom. I'll go glass half full. At least it's not entirely on it. We'll get a little bit of a taste of normalcy.
But I mean, we went to the Big 12 and it was normal, and it felt so good.
It did feel good
to just see, players and talk to them and be able to laugh and tell jokes and
just the way
I enjoyed Gary Patterson. He was a joy to be around at Big 12 Media Days for me. Talking about
you know what though, I will
that.
say this, Josh talking about getting tired about just wanting to get back out into the world and things like that. I am so sick of conference realignment stuff that I'm ready to just start talking about like actual football season stuff. No, I think we've reached the point of like, and especially on the OU side of things, it's like, okay, they know where they're going. They're going to the SEC. Let's start talking about the season. Let's start talking about the 2021 season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for me, guys, I mean, it's two-sided. Like, I thought we were out of this recruiting, like kind of this hot recruiting period, and then just a guy keeps jumping into the pool, and I'm like, I kind of think I'm at the end. We can relax for a minute. We can, football can kind of take over. And then it's realignment. And then, now you're just like, God, just start the season. Like I need something else to focus my brain on for at least like a day or two.
I'm gonna promise myself that I just as we get through the season, don't let me bitch about the season because it was so weird last year. There will be a little bit of normalcy back coming into our lives, though.
Well, you remember how people just started there was a point where people just started losing it, and you had all these weird incidents and shootings and stuff like that. Like everybody just had enough, and they kind of started losing their minds, person by person. I'm a little afraid that I might be that guy. I'll admit this. I yelled at everyone this week, one night. Just frustrated with things.
Columbine, the war room.
I did. I said, "You mother bleepers! You're disappointing me. You're letting me down." All of those things, and I just feel like I'm going to have a meltdown at some point.
Another
if we
one?
Continue to go.
I was going to say that kind of felt like the meltdown. There's another one that was like the preliminary shots.
I'll probably just yell at you, Josh. That's probably
okay, and that's fine. Like this is the same deal on the board. That's fine.
Eddie stepped it up. We figured out our video stuff. At some point I'm gonna have to get it down to Josh. That's been it's just I don't know. I think we saw that on the board. We kind of see that we're kind of used to dealing with meltdowns though on a regular basis on the board.
Yeah,
like we're kind of going down one right now with Wanya Morris. In his situation,
it feels good though because it's actual it's a good meltdown. I think there's good meltdowns and bad meltdowns. These are good meltdowns.
It's nice to have meltdowns.
It's a football meltdown.
It's a football meltdown. Yeah, in the real world purposes, it's not a meltdown.
Well, and
it all
within all this, nobody's talked about Savion Byrd looking ready, looking like a dude.
He looked great in some of the pictures that are out on the internet right now.
I feel like OU has perfected how to take a picture of someone to make him just look like a monster.
I don't think that was an OU picture, though. That was like a back home picture.
It's kind of like that McClellan picture that came out when he just looked like a total dude.
Yeah.
A couple of months ago.
How about the picture of Spencer Rattler that I asked? Do you think Micah Rattler had do they have photoshopping classes that parents have to go through to make their kids look bigger during the summer?
I mean, Rattler's just a guy. He's never going to just be a physical specimen. He's just not. I mean,
I think that he looks. We probably because some of those guys do look so jacked. I think it makes him look, quote unquote, worse. Does that make sense?
And we haven't seen Spencer in person.
That's true. That's true.
No, we saw him at camp.
Technically, yeah, but not in person.
I mean, we saw him 2-3 weeks into off-season workouts.
Sure,
they just finished now, but Eddie said it at the time. He posts so many workout videos, you think he'd be more jacked than he is. I just don't.
It's very Landry Jones-ish.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad.
No, I'm not saying it's not that bad, but the same deal. You're shouldn't he look like more than that? I mean, and
you look at
Spencer's a better
Baker,
athlete than Landry was.
You look at Baker right now.
He wasn't shredded though. What quarterback is shredded?
I
Can't
mean,
really
not
think-
shredded, but
I
like
mean, Trevor Knight was, you know,
Trevor's a little bit of a different animal because he was always like cut.
yeah,
Yeah.
even in high school,
Yeah.
he was kind of
and
he was
he
kind of
has
jacked.
the prototypical athletic head.
I mean, Baker's
his
like
head is almost
the
perfect.
prototypical dad bod when he was at OU. He's
Well,
definitely
he
made
had-
his gains when he got to the league.
like Baker wore the the cutoff shirt and his belly kind of stuck out a little bit, but he wasn't like the pinnacle of he wasn't going to be what's the big weightlifting magazine, this fitness magazine.
Bodybuilding.
I definitely don't subscribe to one, so
It's always been my
Couldn't
image
tell
that
ya.
Baker wore the rib guard just to make it seem like it wasn't all him in there. Like it was like, oh, it's mainly just these rib protectors here, keeping it looking a little bulky here in the middle.
Yeah, but he looks right now like he's got the lowest body fat of his entire career.
Yeah.
He looks really good.
well, why Emily's probably not letting him eat anything when he's at home. They're eating oats and grains and all that other shit.
Breaking news: Emily's a terrible cook.
I think they probably outsource all that. I mean,
He's probably got a he's
probably one of those things like the Instagram videos that they make. It's probably in the shakes that they're
He's
eating
probably
or
wanting to
whatever.
take over the TB12 someday, start his own, like Tom Brady. He makes a ton off of that crap.
Yeah, probably so. Needs to join a cult first. What's the guy's name? Guerrero or whatever. That guy's crazy. I don't think that I would want to have that much sports success if it meant that I had to eat that way.
Yeah.
Like some of that stuff is disgusting.
Well, it's like the Subway
Yep.
commercial where Steph Curry's like, "Do you even eat bread, Tom?" He's
yeah,
like, "It's a commercial."
yeah.
That's beautiful. Like that is a well placed. That whole thing works.
So anyway, the Wanya stuff that sprouted from last week's pod where I predicted that Anton Harrison would start over him to start the season, and it all stemmed from the fact that when he first got to OU, he was not able to even practice at that point because there were still eligibility issues, and I'm not talking NCAA investigation stuff stemming from the whole Tennessee stuff. That's not what this is about. It's just about a guy having, the right GPA and all that stuff, credits and all that to be eligible to play at this point of his career. Which you think like everything with the NCAA is do whatever you want, but there still are, core things that you have to reach in order to be able to play football, and grades is still one of them. So I think some things have to get worked. I'm not saying they can't or they won't get worked out. Hell, they could be worked out this week from someone that I've kind of heard something from. It could be worked out now, but that's something throughout the summer that they've had to work on. And I said this on the board. I think Wanya is as much to blame as anybody. I mean, I think Tennessee's to blame, but I don't know who to blame more. Is it, the kid's fault for not doing well, or is it the school's fault for, holding him up? I don't know what the answer is there, but it's something that's got to get worked out.
Same thing I told you guys before we started. It's like, how the hell are we on August 4th of 2021? He's been literally a student at OU for what now? I guess just the one semester. So
Right.
But still, how the hell are we here? I just don't understand what these, not the
The thing
compliance
about it
department or whoever, like what do these people do day to day that this paperwork or whatever, how does it not get taken care of? I just do not understand that.
Well, the athlete's got to take care of some things
Sure.
of his own.
I completely get
and
that.
I don't think he's
Yeah.
without blame in this.
Sure. Okay.
So, and I'll tell you this, from everything I've heard, compliance shouldn't be blamed at all for anything. If
Okay.
anything, they've pushed this thing forward and
Well,
helped
then
them get it.
I
figured
don't
out.
understand how the player doesn't get something done. Like whoever, like I just feel like when I was in school, if I had to get, and this might be a terrible comparison, but you got to, you get something sent home. If Laney or Layla get something sent home, they got to get it signed. It gets put in a folder and you give it to your parents to get it signed and you take it back the next day. I never had a problem with that in school.
To me, it's a constant battle of the coaching staff with players. Like when I was talking to a coach right before NIL got going, his biggest concern was that half the players on a team are going to be ineligible because they're more worried about working on their name, image, likeness than they are going to class. or turning in assignments or just, I mean, basically, if you talk to anyone that used to play football in college recently, they will tell you the same thing. And we had this discussion before the show. You almost have to try harder to fail than you do to succeed because it's all laid out for you. Like, this is what you need to do. And they monitor everything. They monitor if you're going to class or not, if you're turning in assignments, if your grade, GPA falls below a certain point, if you're in a danger zone. Like, there are people whose only job is to make sure that you are eligible.
What I would never in a million years wish that upon anybody to be their job, to make sure the players have to stay eligible. Sounds like, I mean, you talk about needing an Adderall script. That would just be unbelievably hard.
It's hurting cats.
You'd need two Adderall scripts, one for you and one to hand out to all the players.
But, I mean, there's guys, Josh, I mean, there's been rumors that Marcus Major is having some issues. So, I mean, it's not like it can't happen or it doesn't happen or guys, aren't in a danger zone of it happening. It still happens.
That was a weird time to drop my name in. I was looking at my phone. I felt like I was back in high school and like, Josh, eyes up. Like, it felt like a pay attention.
See, I've just been yelling at people too much lately. Yeah, I know. I'm a tyrant now all of a sudden.
It was a little, I was like, Jesus, do you have video in here already?
Well, it's like the East Mississippi Last Chance U. What was her name? Was it Brittany? And and then she left for the
yeah. Uh-huh.
Bring a pencil. Like, that would just wear on you. That would just destroy you.
Can you imagine doing it at a JUCO? Oh my God.
Yeah, I told this story to you guys before. I was the team tutor in JUCO. I mean, it was unbelievable how stupid people are. And it's just, I don't know. It's some people just need a lot of help. But you know what? They give them that help. So hopefully it just all gets worked out. But I will say this, and Josh, you've heard some of the same things. I don't know if you look at your phone right now. It's if Anton Harrison is the starter, it's not because he lucked into that spot. I mean, I keep hearing that he's looked really, really good.
Absolutely. I mean, that has been the Wanya conversation, Kerry, let's be honest, you've heard more of that than I have. But the talk of the thing I hear is that's his job. Like, left tackle, that's him. He's been awesome, really has taken that step forward from last year. When, guys, I mean, I don't think it's really gotten its due that wasn't a guy that came in early. Like, he came in with everybody else and was just so good, they were like, we got to figure out some way to make this work. Like, I mean, he was, and so, like, I think having that, I mean, and being an unusual year that it was, now to come back, have spring, have summer workouts, it just sounds like he's impressed everybody. And, he was one of those guys in high school. I liked him a lot. I thought we had him a little undervalued. He was a little sloppy, needed to lose some weight, but I mean, or at least move the weight around a little bit. But once that started to happen, I mean, he's a Bill Bedenbaugh prototype tackle.
And you would always hear, like, Bill would kind of, Bob, wouldn't Bill kind of drop his name every once in a while when we did talk to him about, him? I think he and Rame were the two guys that weren't playing a lot that Bill tended to talk the most about.
Yeah, when it came to the 2020 class, those were the two that you could already tell that despite all the circumstances, they were separating themselves from the rest of the pack.
So, I mean, but that'll be...
You just kind of kept waiting for him to make that move a year ago, didn't you? Like, as far as Anton Harrison goes. And he did it. I mean, he obviously
played.
And
a lot of that is the pressure because people don't want Swinson playing.
Sure. Poor Eric Swinson. He's always just going to be the butt end of every joke, isn't he?
Swinson and Meade.
Swinson, Meade, and Tyrese Robinson are all kind of cut from the same cloth as far as guys that just become... They are the... I don't want to say whipping boy by any means, but they're just guys that... They're the easy targets, I guess, for the fan base. I feel
like Lincoln kind of knows that, and he trolls the fans because he always
brings them up.
He always brings up how good they're doing.
No, he 100% does. And then it's like
he did that in the spring.
It's like, God damn it, I'm gonna have to go to the board and like put like on the Monday notes or whatever. Like, And Riley spoke glowingly of Eric Swinson. It's like, God damn it, here it comes. I can feel it coming at me.
No, as soon as he says that in a press conference, you're like, oh, damn it. This is going to blow up now.
Just don't
I'm still a semi-buyer in Tyrese Robinson, but Swinson feels like an affront to me every time it comes up. I'm like, nope, I don't want to hear it. Like, we've been down this road. We know, even if you want to say, okay, he's been injured, blah, 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 he's going to get hurt again. It happens every time. Like, even if you choose to believe that the problems are strictly about injury, then every year if he's been in Norman, he's been seriously injured. I mean, that's the only explanation for it. And at some point you are injury prone. It will happen again.
I think we've said this before. The biggest problem with Swinson is he's good enough to look good against okay competition, but he gets exposed when they play anybody elite.
Yep, he will fool you into thinking you're safe.
So, I mean, I think tomorrow that's going to be obviously one of the biggest topics is the offensive line. I know Bob has 5 questions out this morning talking about, things that he's looking forward to.
I wish it could be just as simple as like, okay, Lincoln, who's in, who's out? Like, who do we not need to worry about?
Yeah, who can we stop?
Like, come on, just throw us a bone.
Can we finally give up on
just
Bray
for a
Walker?
month? Yeah.
So not if you look at the tackle depth, you can't.
Yeah,
I mean, if Wanya is out for whatever and Stacey Wilkins is gone, who are the guys you're looking for at tackle?
Guys, I'm telling you, Aaron Parks almost has to be part of this conversation. It doesn't make sense any other way. Like, they don't have enough bodies that he almost has to get a look.
I mean, it seems like Bray Walker and Darrell Simpson have long been afterthoughts, but if there's any year where they could bust on through just based on numbers, it's right about now.
It is amazing that they've had these runs at tackle. And
thank God that they've had a little success in the transfer portal.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing. I mean, we've done nothing but praise Bill Bedenbaugh, and for good reason. But now you're kind of saying, okay, this is kind of an area where you've fallen short.
Can you hear some people from the board 55 namely like, see, I told you.
I don't know. And plus, not to mention, it really working out that Cody Ford was, really good at tackle for you.
Sure. It's kind of like Bob and I were talking about this morning as far as like, I don't want to be the like, push the panic button for a month straight before the season starts guy, but like if you look at the totality of what Oklahoma has, there are a number of positions that if things were to go wrong during the month of August and even at the beginning of September, it's like I think there's a lot of people that feel like they're going to be a good team, that this could be a team that competes realistically for a national title, but at the same time, if you have some injuries at a couple positions, if you have some things that don't go the right way, and, God forbid that, and I know Oklahoma fans certainly think that this is kind of taboo to say, but maybe Spencer Rattler doesn't make that jump that you expect him to make. All of a sudden, where is this team?
Eddie.
I'm not saying that. And by the way,
Welcome to the dark side, Eddie.
Like, hey, it has to be said. Like, that other side has to be talked about. I'm not saying that they're overrated. I'm not saying that, that they aren't one of the better teams in the country. But I think that if you look at it, it's like, let's take a step back. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. It's August 4th for a reason.
No, you should ask yourself that question. Like, okay, I know everybody's been talking about national champions, but
maybe worry about winning the Big 12 for a 7th straight time.
Could this possibly go wrong? Like, you have to ask yourself that question. Like, how we're going to look like fools if we don't take this into account, and it's the offensive line and it's safety.
Yep, exactly.
It's one of those things where I think this team has a legitimate chance at a national championship. They also could be a 3-loss team if they get hit with some injuries in just a couple of places, because they are razor thin in a couple of spots.
And I'll tell you,
let me say again. Just for the people out there that have already like turned us off. I'm not saying they're going to go 9-3. I'm not sitting here saying that. I'm just saying that you need to take a step back and let's look at the big picture here.
I can't wait for Eddie to become the villain.
I hope I am.
Fan base just to come after you.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to James Hale this bitch and take him to go undefeated for the 16th consecutive
He's
year.
been doing that since he's been free. So
Chip Brown, I think, has got Texas going 16.
I'm walking
this
away
year.
slowly from the
14-0.
conversation.
16.
But
They're just going to the NFL.
No,
Running back and tight ends. I mean, you get an injury there.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, you're thin.
You're hurting.
But here's, to me, the one thing that we just haven't shouted from the rooftops that is the biggest question mark is the one guy that's penciled in as a starter. We're going to talk to him tomorrow. We don't know if he's any good or not, and that's Jeremiah Cradell. Like, is he going to be worse than Buki? He better not be. I mean, but Jeremiah Cradell, we don't really know if he's good or not.
Well, I think that there's a lot of guys. Like, you could go down the list of guys that's like, I think he's going to be really, really good. Like, there's no reason to not to think he's going to be really, really good. You come out of the spring thinking whoever is going to be good, but they haven't done anything on a Saturday to make you think they're going to be good.
And is Marvin Mims going to be the only star receiver?
Sure. Like, is that, do I think that's going to be the case? Obviously not. I think Jaden Hazelwood's going to have a pretty damn good year. But there's nothing that you can really look at over the course of his career that has made you think, it's kind of like the Biletnikoff, like, watch list stuff when it came out. It's like, Jaden Hazelwood's getting slept on. Like, you know, you see that all over Twitter. And it's like, I mean, while I agree, what Bob just said, it's like, how can you put him on a watch list when he hasn't done anything over the last 2 years? And you know, obviously you don't go into the fact that, well, he's been hurt. He was slow coming back from a bad knee injury, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, okay, but still at the same time, you're expecting him just to make this jump. And I think that could happen, but to say that it's a matter of fact and that it will happen is, I don't know, maybe a little much for me right now.
Well, I mean, you know, it's the old Bob Stoops and Ed Kaba. Like, I think you can replace 4 receptions. Like, that's not that big a deal. But no, there's so much about this team that that gives you reason to believe, but it's belief. It's not know. Like, you don't know these things. Like,
this is officially a team that's good on paper. That's officially that's all they are right now. They're good on paper.
I think you could say even
now the defensive line.
It's a team that could be great on paper.
The defensive line is good on the field, and the corners to me are good on the field.
I believe. I think I know more about the defense than I know about the offense.
Yes,
the offense I have real questions about now,
which is crazy to say when Lincoln Riley's in charge of it.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you know, and again, like Eddie, I'm not saying I don't believe. I think these things will be fine so long as, again, you can avoid some injuries at offensive tackle, at running back. You know, they've got a few spots that are narrow. They've got to have a receiver emerge. They need Austin Stogner to come back and be okay and be the guy that we saw in flashes early last year. I mean, these things need to happen if OU is going to go as far as we think they can go. And if they don't, I mean, there's some issues there. I mean, there are going to be problems.
I do this every year, though, and if it was flipped and OU was, say, like a preseason 14 or 15, I'd be thinking of ways, well, they could be a top 3 team because of this, but because they're a top 3 team, I look at it the other way and say, well, what are the bad things? And, like, I don't know. It's unfair and you can't do it, but say you take away the Florida game, where do we think this team is going into the season? Obviously, they played really well in the bowl game. But at the same time, it's like, you know, I kind of forgot in a way that they almost lost the Big 12 championship game.
Well, guys, I think the perfect embodiment of it is Spencer Rattler. I mean, again, we know the talent. It's huge. It's there. Like, we've talked about him since he was a sophomore in high school. Like, we know this guy and what he is and what he can do. At the same time, has he done anything on the field that says that's the best player in college football, bar none? No, he hasn't. Not even close. He's had some great moments. He's had late in the game against Texas, I thought he showed a lot of stuff that you liked. There were great moments against Florida. But at the same time, I mean, has he gone out there in a huge game against a team ready to go and put on a show.
He's consistently been in charge of an offense that has stalled, more so than any offense that Lincoln Riley has had since he's been at Oklahoma. That second half against Iowa State, the reason that was a game, if he is the quarterback that we thought, he comes out and leads them down to a couple of scores, and that game is over.
Well, and even with that said, it's like they still have the ball with a minute left, and he has the audacity to throw a 40-yard interception on first down.
Yeah.
On the 45-yard line.
Yeah.
So, who knows? Now, I don't think he's going to make those types of mistakes.
And the TCU game was a great game statistically, but all he did was just chunk the ball down the field.
Chunk it up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
And let Marvin Mims, do everything. And to me, guys, it is a little bit for this offense. I think they're going to be in good hands with Caleb Williams from everything that we've seen so far. But you need Jaden Hazelwood to have a good year. I would suspect that if Hazelwood does not have a big year, he's probably in the transfer portal after this season.
I think he's either in the portal or the draft.
Yep.
I think there's a better chance he'd just enter the draft.
Season.
There might even be a better chance they would enter the draft instead of the portal. Even if it was a disappointing season. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There does seem to be some of that. I'm going to will this to happen.
Who knows? But you talk about the wide receiver unit, and I think a guy that personally I've probably forgotten about just because it's been so awkward and he hasn't even been out on the practice field is how does a Mike Woods fit into this whole scenario? Mm-hmm. We know nothing about the guy. And I kind of find that fascinating, and it's like it didn't dawn on me until, God, when were we talking to Lincoln about this? It might have been Big 12 Media Day. It's like, we think he's going to fit in? We literally haven't gotten him out on the practice field, though.
Yeah,
because he came after the spring.
Woods and Trey Bradford. He's like, we think we really like what we've brought in, but we don't have a clue who they are yet.
And it's all about that relationship that he and Rattler can develop through the preseason camp. And, it's not – I feel like we're just picking the shit out of this team. Theo Weiss coming off an injury, what's he going to be?
I think it's a good sign, though, when you're able to sit here and pick at a team like this. It means that they are good. Does that make sense? If it was the other way around,
it means the expectations are high.
Sure, I think that's a better way to put it.
This feels like I hope I'm wrong, I'm probably wrong about this, but here are some concerns. Here are the things that could go wrong. Because for everything that you look at on this team, this should be a really, really good team. It's just there are some concerns. You look at that wide receiver room, guys. You think you like Mike Woods. We know Theo Weiss is talented, but through 2 years hasn't done a lot. Jaden Hazelwood, not really through his fault, hasn't done much. Marvin Mims is the one guy that you say, yep, okay, he's good. He's an all-American caliber player.
And we haven't mentioned Mario Williams yet because I think we all believe he's going to be good.
He's the guy that I think could really I think not even so much he's good, but push some of these older guys. If you're not going, he's going to take your job.
Yeah. I think that'll be his biggest role this year outside of just making plays. Scare the shit out of everybody that's there that they're not going to get to play as much.
And then you start working your way among the other wide receivers. I still think that how they use the tight end and, Stogner's health, it sounds like he's headed in the right direction. Braden Willis, Jeremiah Hall. It's going to be really interesting to see how they use that group of H-back/tight ends.
And you really got the sense, I thought, Bob, from Big 12 Media Day, and it wasn't just because he was there, but it seemed like Lincoln Riley has really committed to using Jeremiah Hall, and maybe an admission that he'd kind of gotten away from that a little bit. And maybe that was because Stogner got more involved. But and Hall made plays last year. He scored touchdowns, but you almost get the sense Lincoln is looking at this okay, well, my receivers haven't stepped up. I can lean on this guy and do a lot of good things this year.
Yeah, I personally have been waiting for Stogner and Braden Willis just take over the spot, and Hall sees limited time, and whether it's injury or inconsistency, there's Hall. He's always the man standing. He's been healthy whenever he's had his number called. He's made plays, and so it comes to a point where it's instead of him being always thrown to the sides, okay, how do we use him best because we know he's always going to give us his best whenever he gets a chance to do whatever he's asked to do.
And the thing about Stogner, guys, to me is, like, we've all seen him since he was in high school, and I think we've all looked at him and looked at his frame and been like, wow, that could be a Gronk type guy. But he's still not fully developed. I'm sure the staph infection had something to do with that. Like, you stand up next to Jeremiah Hall and you realize, like, that's a dude. Like, he's a dude. Like, he's big.
Well, you go back to even 2019, and I think it was the Baylor game when they had the big comeback. It's like Braden Hall and Stogner were the two guys in the red zone that made all the plays.
Braden Hall? Jeremiah
Braden Willis.
Okay.
And Stogner.
In Bedlam?
No, in 2019 Baylor.
okay.
In the big comeback. I mean, those that was like their coming out party, and you thought, okay, this is going to be the game that kind of like springboards everybody into what the 2021 was.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I will say it's like coming out of Big 12 Media Days, it seemed like Theo's name was the name that was the most popular among guys that, or at least Jeremiah Hall and Lincoln Riley. I mean, the two guys that we talked about from the offensive side of the ball.
Well, because he had to work on his upper body. You know, the injury to whatever part of the lower body, he had to finally get stronger. I know that's what Lincoln was saying, is that maybe he hasn't been as dedicated in the weight room the first 2 years. This forced him to, and so maybe he's a much different receiver if you add 10, 15 pounds of muscle to him.
Yeah, I mean, it is, as you mentioned earlier, Eddie, it is just kind of strange because you almost feel dirty saying it, but I kind of believe in this defense a lot more than I do in the offense.
No, 100%.
It's strange to say.
No, I think it probably also is just because it's in the back of your mind. It's like they finally have some guys that look the part.
Well, it's like when we've had opportunities, or people have asked us to come on and talk about OU in the SEC. It's like you feel like you have to qualify everything by, like, look, I don't ever think that this defense was good, but I feel differently now. Like, I think they're actually good. Like, I think they could actually compete in the SEC defensively and not look, crappy.
And they still have a ways to go. Like, I think you can say like they could compete, and they still are probably not where you would want it to be if you're truly playing for a national championship.
Sure, yeah.
They're close, though.
It just goes back to what we talked about. We don't know about the safeties, and we don't know
when you're in. When you dug
really
yourself a hole like they
LBs.
were in, it's been a minute.
I just think it's going to be interesting seeing some of this play out. We've talked a lot about the non-starters, guys like David Agwebu, and how that's all going to play out and fit in. And we know that Alex Grinch is going to rotate people, so a lot of people are going to play. But how does it work out with like Jaden Davis at corner and DJ Graham and Woody Washington? Like, who really emerges there? I think I know it's going to be Woody and DJ Graham, but I haven't given up on Jaden Davis either.
No, and it's kind of cliche, but at the same time, it's just, I think, too, that it's one of those things
and
that...
Latrell McCutcheon. I mean, where does he fit in?
It's just the natural progression of year 3 in a system as opposed to going from year 1 to year 2. I think that plays a big part in it as well. Great point, Eddie.
I'm thinking like of those questions that you want to ask Lincoln that you're not going to ask him. Mine would be, so seriously, Justin Harrington at corner? Like, you're not going to change that?
Yeah.
You're not going to try him at safety? Is he even going to play at corner? Because he's got a lot of people in front of him.
Seems like you got a lot of cornerbacks. Where's everybody else going to be? Got a lot of options at corner.
Yeah.
And I think
and you have a deficiency at safety.
I think it's safe to say that you can put Woody Washington locked into one of those.
I guess is the question really,
where are your other 3 coming from?
Pat Fields, really? Lincoln, you sticking with that?
I mean,
you don't have somebody better that can catch a football?
I love the service you bring to the community. You're a great representative of the University of Oklahoma. But
could be a coach on that staff someday.
You're holding them back.
I don't even want to say holding back. It's just like you got other people. I feel like you do.
And does somebody like Bryson Washington make a move?
Yeah, I'm wondering about Keyshawn Lawrence. Does he have a set position yet?
Who was it that put out the measurables that he had at the end of the spring? I think it was somebody, I can't remember who it was, but it was like the 4.4 and jumped like a $75 billion
He was like a
bird or
Tennessee
whatever.
guy from 24/7.
God
or
damn,
something.
come on. Like that's what you want, measurable wise. Let's start seeing it out on the field, though.
Well, and it's just always been, and I know we've all talked about it, but it's just always been so strange because we talk about all this depth that Alex Grinch has wanted to create and all these things. Well, his position is the one position, excuse me, that hardly ever rotates.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think it would if they felt like they had more options.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess
I mean,
to a point, that's fine,
they had to play Fields and Turner all those snaps because that's all that they did. They had no backups. They had no depth.
I mean, to a point, but they were rotating Brian Meade in. I mean, if Brian Meade can find time, they've got somebody that's no less proficient than Brian Meade as a safety.
At one time, that would have cut me deeply, but it doesn't anymore. After that Florida
But I mean,
game.
that's why we're wondering, like, why are these guys pigeonholed into other positions? Like, you hear nickel, it's Bowman, Cradell, like, it's Lawrence. When feel like some of these guys could help, you put them at safety. If they started playing safety last year, then maybe they would be ready to make their mark now.
Yeah. It's hard to question Alex Grinch, but
It's fair.
you know, they just safety is they should be so much better. And I don't even think Delarian Turner Yell's bad.
It's not to say that they aren't going to be. Again, I think it's just projecting what we know versus the unknown of there's a lot of guys that you're counting on that have not played a whole lot of football.
Yeah. Kerry, you're right. Like, I think you can go where you want to go with Turner Yell. I'm not saying he's going to be an elite player or change that, the national title game or anything like that. I mean, guys, do you think you win a national championship with Pat Fields? I don't know that I believe that.
I like the kid. Like, this is truly not supposed to just be some kind of hit piece against him. But no, I don't think you can.
Yeah. Yeah. And I same. Pat's a kid I knew, covered him, being an Oklahoma kid. He and I had a good relationship. I think the world of Pat. But it's just like Justin Broyles. Like, we never wanted to bag on Justin Broyles.
I was just getting ready to say that, Josh. I love Justin Broyles. I think he's obviously an integral part of what you want on a football team. But do I think you can send him as one of the 11 out there to win a national championship? I don't know. From what I've seen, no, I don't think that you can.
I have a hard time saying that, you can't win a national championship with one weak link when they almost got to the national championship with that defense in
That's fair.
2018 or whatever.
Is the offense going to be
Chance
one of the best
Sylvie
offenses ever
was on
put
that
together?
defense. Well, that's the thing. The offense is going to have to be really good, which they're capable of
Are
being.
10 of the 11 starters going to play it down in the NFL?
I mean,
And the one that didn't was probably the best football player of them all in Dimitri?
Thank
I know
you.
that's much.
Thank you,
I know
Eddie.
that's a lot, but
No,
you get what
I
I'm
don't.
saying.
I think that I'm fine with that.
And that offensive line was really good.
They're literally,
and
every one of them's on an NFL roster
Yeah.
right now.
But the flip to that is, Eddie, you've got a whole bunch of NFL guys on the defensive side of the ball now. So
No, I get it.
They can mask
Sure.
that a little bit.
Sure.
If the defensive line is what we think it is, the secondary shouldn't have to do as much.
100%. And I think that, Bob, that's a great point because I think you saw as Oklahoma's defensive line got better over the last, you could say year and a half to 2 years, specifically over the last year when Winfrey started playing well. It wasn't a coincidence that you weren't giving up 40-yard bombs on the other side.
It is telling how much better that defense got once Perrion Winfrey, the light kind of went on for him. Like
Sure.
It looked different. Guys, somebody brought up something on the board, and I thought it was a pretty I don't know if it's telling or not. Kind of hearing nothing on Jalen Redmond this summer seems like a good thing. Like, that feels like, okay, there's no news. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. Like, no, not that Jalen didn't before, but nothing's holding him back. He's getting to take part. He's doing, taking part in all the stuff he should. That feels like positive news because I think we all accept Jalen Redmond's a really good player when he can go.
Another one of those guys, and I hate being this guy today, but it's just like,
Well, stop.
he's another one of those guys that, like, he's still a very, 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 and I think Jamar Cain would be the first one to tell you, he hasn't played a whole lot of football.
No, but he led the team in tackles when he did play as a freshman.
That's a good thing, isn't it?
I mean, in sacks
it's a bad thing, but a good thing going in when you can talk about it in 2021. It wasn't a good thing back in 2019, if that makes sense.
As long as he embraces that role, because I appreciated how honest he was in 2019 about not wanting to move inside.
Sure.
He's had a lot of time to think about. If he is fully committed to being okay with that position, he is dynamic. There's no other way to say it.
I think Ari Gold would tell him if he hasn't accepted it by now, he needs to get the out.
I think the thing with Jalen is, he opted out last year. He had that DUI. He didn't rehab correctly from his shoulder surgery, so he wasn't able to really perform at a high level. I think going through all that, it's probably got to give you a little perspective on, like, this could all go away. And he's a guy that, the people around him, they all feel like he is an NFL talent, and that's what he wants to do. He wants to get to the NFL. I mean, there was talk that he might declare for the draft last year, as bad a shape as he was. So he wants to do that. And you get the sense that he's kind of committed to that now when he wasn't before. And COVID was just a kick in the ass for him because, when things shut down and he didn't have people to push him every day. And Josh has talked about, that kid since he was in high school. Like, he's not always the biggest self-starter. He needs someone to motivate him. And he needs coaches. He needs coaching. And I think he's getting that now.
He is. He's one of those kids. He responds really well to coaching, but he needs the coaching. Some guys can just do it, and I think part of me is I think football is always second to Jalen. He's a guy that loved basketball, but he's better at football. So I think you get some of that. But no, I'm like I said, it just feels like that is good news that nothing's happening. And frankly, it's been a pretty – I mean, God, everybody's going to be screaming at the radio as they hear this, but, like, it's been a pretty quiet summer for Oklahoma, which is something that hasn't always been the case. Especially in years where it seemed like they were due for a really big year. The summer, you were like, well, there's this thing or there's this injury or there's that.
Robert
it seems like it's – well, I mean, hey – he's run his stairs. I mean, he's run the stadium. He's good. We're all. That still doesn't make any sense to me.
No, they're all gone. They lost 3 players because of a robbery.
I don't know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Are you going with Isaiah or
is there a robbery that you don't know about?
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I was talking about Isaiah. I'm sorry.
I like this team already. When you're having to think which guy it was, that's a good sign, folks.
God, does that not feel like forever ago? That feels like a really long time ago to me. Like, that doesn't feel like the summer. I know it was, and that's fine, but that feels like that was
still in the Big 12.
Ancient history. Yes, and that was a conference ago, guys. Let it go.
The robbery was in June, by the way. I mean, it's not that long ago.
Well, no, it wasn't because it was going into the spring game.
It was before.
Because remember, Mikey played. Yeah, Mikey played, and it was
April 14th.
Yeah, it was
April 14th.
Clearly weird.
Yeah.
Well, spring. So, yeah. Okay. I'll allow it. It hasn't been that bad.
Hideki Matsuyama wasn't even a Masters champion.
Well, that's what we're all getting.
And nor was the boy from Bratislava. He wasn't a silver medalist either. Carry on.
So, I mean, I feel like the title of this pod's going to be get ready for an ass-kicking, Sooner fans.
Oh, you might go 5-7, okay?
Eddie goes Donnie Darko on us.
I'm bringing up questions that need to be asked, all right?
Yeah, I mean, that was the point of the 5 questions. Like, there's questions. I feel all of them are going to be answered.
Sure.
But there's no doubt there are questions.
Yeah, and prepare yourself thusly. Okay, we are in the dead period now, which I know the dead period has not been exactly dead, Josh. It seems like it has been kind of the stepping off point. Like, when it goes to the dead period, that's when shit starts happening. But OU did just have a visit weekend. I know you've been catching up with people. So what is what's the number one headline coming out of OU now that they've entered the dead period?
I would say probably the Gentry Williams situation. That talking to him, I had a long talk with him on, I guess that was Monday night. And, we've run a story. Scoop's going to have some more. We kind of covered a lot of bases. And I got a feeling from him that I haven't, that I haven't gotten in a while. It felt very much like there was a renewed comfort with Oklahoma. And, he covered some of the stuff that, when Eddie and I saw him in the spring, we talked with him about his relationship with Roy Manning and how that's always kind of been secondary to his relationship with Alex Grinch, and if that could work with him being a corner, and just going over some of those bases, and really not just him, like talking to him about where his family is with Oklahoma and how that relationship has developed. And I think I don't know where you kind of fall on, this should have been done before, this should have been covered, but it feels like Gentry gave OU the benefit of the doubt, and I think that's always telling in recruiting. If a school, if you're not going to get it, then you were probably never going to get that guy anyway. If you do get it, that usually is a sign of things. So, we'll have to watch. We'll see. But the other thing that I thought was really interesting in my conversation with him is, guys, you remember a couple of months ago we were talking about USC. Oh, that USC visit. He, there's rumors he's going to commit. And I was kind of tap the brakes a little bit here. I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. Talking to him, the best visit he took was Florida. I mean, he flat out said it, and I think he's actually. I think he did an Instagram live or something yesterday where somebody told me he said something similar. So this isn't just like a one-off thing. Like the Florida visit's what really hit for him, and I thought it was interesting that he was there with Chris McClellan. And then he comes back this weekend, and he's in Norman with Chris McClellan, and clearly those guys were hanging out with, like Robert Spears Jennings, and Corbin Green was there, a buddy of both of theirs from the Tulsa area, Xavier Bryce, and, and Micah Tease, obviously, as well. So I thought Oklahoma did a really nice job with both of those guys, doing things beyond just like, oh, well, we're going to make them feel at home because we're coaches and we're going to love them up. But, they were around guys they know, and they were around guys, especially in Gentry's case, that could be his future secondary, at Oklahoma.
Josh, the question that I really had from last weekend, I was there at the Board of Regents, made official Friday. How much SEC talk was there by the coaches?
I was surprised. Oklahoma was pretty upfront about it, telling guys that this may not be, because some of these guys are 2022 guys. There is a world in which they would still never play in the SEC. And talking to some of these guys, the coaches acknowledge, we don't know. We're not in the room. We don't get to make these decisions. But there's, they were very open that this is a possibility that exists that you guys could play in the SEC and maybe, not deep into your career. So they don't have to own any of it. People were like, well, is that going to get them in trouble? No, they're coaches. They don't represent the university on a legal level. That's not part of the deal. So they can, it's recruiting. They get to spin whatever story they want to, but coaches were absolutely talking to these guys about it, telling them, that how excited they are about the SEC. They think it's going to make them better all the way around, get to play great players, great talent. And, still, we're going to play Texas. We're going to play Texas A&M. You Texas kids, you get to go back and still be in front of your families. And we're going to, I think it was much more open to that conversation than I really expected OU to be.
I think it does probably give you a little look into the window of why everything was kept so secret, because they were so willing to run to recruits and say, hey, guess what?
You give a coach a new recruiting pitch. That's like giving a 16-year-old girl a Porsche and be like, don't drive it. No, sure. That's not going to happen. That's not the way that's going to go.
It makes you also wonder if Jimbo Fisher's out there hell, we don't know if they're ever going to be in the SEC.
Oh, 100%.
It'll be. I heard it got pushed back to 2035.
Yep. Your grandson may play in the SEC, but
Georgia probably throwing that pitch out there too.
No, Georgia's throwing something out there.
Bob, go ahead if you have other stuff for Josh with respect to recruiting. I'll let you handle that.
Well, we've been talking a lot about 2022. It feels like 2023 is about to take a couple more steps, and that's pretty impressive what they've done with 2022 without a quarterback. But with Malachi in, it sounds like those inroads and those relationships are starting to be formed to where OU can start making their charge.
Yeah, it's crazy that, within 2 weeks from, 2 weeks from now on the pod, we could be talking about OU having 4 or 5, major commitments in the 2023 class. And, you've already got OU. I mean, and again, it's absurdly early, but number 1 class in the country in 2023 with just 2 commitments. You add in the potential of landing Makai Lemon at the end of this week, and then you throw in the announcement last night of Joshua Bates, the center from Durango, Colorado, that is going to announce the following Friday. So it's the 13th. So it's just crazy how quickly this is all coming together. And the thing to kind of people be, like I said, I keep feeling like it's going to stop. Well, I've already put in a forecast for DeAndre Moore, the wide receiver formerly of Las Vegas Desert Pines, that was a high school teammate of Javonte Barnes, the big 2022 running back that OU's in on. Now he announced this week he's transferring to Los Alamitos, where he grew up, and is going to play with Malachi Nelson and Makai Lemon. You think that's not going to help OU? I mean, should they land Lemon? They've got 2 guys committed on that roster, and now DeAndre Moore, one of their primary wide receiver targets, is going to be on the same roster. That feels like that is just putting itself in a really good spot for Oklahoma at the moment.
And we'll talk running back. Jamari Miller comes in, committed to Texas. Does that mean Javonte Barnes? Is anything not on the same page there? I know Clemson starting to make their push there. Is there anything in the immediate that you can see happening between those two?
I've got to say, I mean, I at times last year said, I don't know what OU's doing at running back right here. I think they're riding the Kamar Wheaton thing a little too hard. There were times I questioned some of the decisions. What they are doing right now at running back, it's chess, man. I mean, it's really impressive because I've had some conversations. I don't get any feeling that OU doesn't feel good about Javonte Barnes. I think they think they're in a really good spot on him right now. I don't get the impression that they're getting worried about it. There's no, if you don't jump on board here pretty soon, I don't get that feel. That's not, and I'll have a little more in scoop on that. But there is, I think with Jamarion Miller, they know he's really good. And, you guys, and I know a lot of board members will remember, this was a guy I was saying, when people would ask me if they miss on Sawchuck and Barnes, who's the next guy? I think it's Jamarion Miller. And I said it for a long time. And that I think they just wanted to kind of build that relationship in case they need to. They've got that in their back pocket. I know his mother came back and told Jason Sukamel, our guy at Orange Bloods, that, things are status quo. It's okay. They just kind of wanted to go up there and check it out. I think they were really trying to keep it quiet. But it is, like I said, I think if Oklahoma, for him to make that trip while being committed to Texas and OU not really pushing him that hard, says a lot about probably his level of interest as well as Oklahoma's ability to get in there later if they want to. So I think it's, like I said, it was an impressive move. It was the kind of flex you used to see Texas pull on Oklahoma more than the other way around, and now it's kind of interesting how, to steal a phrase from our old buddy Jeff Ketchum, the worm has turned a little bit, and Oklahoma's able to make these moves, and Texas right now is struggling in recruiting. They're taking some beats. So it'll be, like I said, we'll keep watching it, but I think Oklahoma feels good about Javonte Barnes at the moment.
I don't know how good a deal it was for Texas to have every lawmaker from another school just line up and just take turns swinging at you like your pinata.
They need to do that like once a week. I said all day, this is a waste of time, whatever. They need to do it once a week.
It was fantastic.
It was entertaining. That's content for days.
I just loved the complete transparency of it. Like, TCU alum, I guess you'd rather lose to Alabama than TCU. Like, it was just so they weren't even trying to hide their affiliations or what their motivations were, and
They were just there to extract their pound of flesh.
Exactly. They were mad on behalf of their school, and they're gonna let you know about it because they know there's not a damn thing they can do about it. Like it is what it is. I mean, they did all this. They lost this war with A&M. Like, why are they suddenly going to win it now?
I'll give their president some props. He just stood there, smiled, and took it.
Because he knew that he's leaving. Like, what are you going to do about it?
It's the same thing. Like, cool. Yep.
Well, he's probably in his mind, he's probably like, yeah, I'm glad we're f***ing you over.
Yes. You're removing all the guilt.
It would have been awesome if you would have been able to say that. Like, you know what? Good. You know what? Lois, f*** you. By the way, supposedly her daughter's pretty hot.
So supposedly, like, you haven't looked?
Oh, can't confirm. Can't confirm. That's what I meant to say.
Better than Taylor Martell or whatever?
Yeah.
Riley Martell?
Yeah, I mean, she's not
a thought.
Yes. I was going to say something else, but decided not to. TCU cheerleader.
Oh, that means, big time.
Yeah.
They don't want no scrubs.
No. I did enjoy all of that, though. Maybe we'll get a Oklahoma version of that.
Bob's
Sitter
first
will have
question,
to get back from...
When Bob saw this going on, he was like, am I going to have to go sit through this if it comes in Oklahoma?
That's what Bob, that's what it started like, and then you were like, I would totally watch this between OSU and Tulsa, just going ape shit on the stage.
Doug Gottlieb would show up wanting to open mic it.
Oh, God.
He's had a rough week. I've talked to people privately about that know him, and it's like, yeah. It's not the best look. Like, because what he's saying is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
It's kind of repeating that bullet point that their president put out there.
Nobody would ever do what he is saying. OSU wouldn't even do what he was saying if it was the other way around.
Oh, God. OSU would do exactly what OU's done. Like, that's the thing that, like, once you get down that road and you're like, okay, yeah, sure. OSU, you can be mad, you can be pissed. Like, that's fair. Like, you got done dirty here. Like, there's no other way around that. But at the same time, if you had to make the choice between we're going to the SEC or we're going to stay in the Big 12 without, the two major conferences or two major programs, you'd leave. You'd have been gone. And you would never thought twice about it. It's not a decision.
Honestly, it's so stupid. I don't even know if I want to just keep hounding on him because it's such a dumb point. That's how stupid it is. I did want to ask Bob real quick if there was any just big takeaways from the Board of Regents meeting after we get done with the recruiting stuff, so we can continue with the recruiting if we have anything else to add. Because I know that
what happened right as we stopped recording basically was Cedric Roberts.
Sure,
so that's something we have to hit.
Yeah, that one. God, I remember I messaged you guys right after. I was like, "Oh God!" Because I made a joke on the board. I was like, I didn't have time to walk any of it back. I just had to be like, "Yep, okay, this is real now." From everything I understand, it was a lot like the Robert Spears Jennings situation. Oklahoma had tried to get him up beforehand and work him out a little bit. Had come up to one of the camps that you guys were at, and he pulled a muscle in running the 40, and so he was done. And from everything I've gathered, Oklahoma liked him, but I don't think they expected to be as impressed as they were, from what I was told. Like, apparently he just blew up. I mean, it was just awesome. Immediately became a priority take, and everybody, and it's understandable, but the immediate response was, well, what does this mean to Chris McClellan? Does this mean they're losing Gabe Dendy? No, it's none of that. Like, OU's going to recruit all those guys, and Jere Bledsoe as well, although there's some reports out that maybe Jere Bledsoe is kind of turning his focus to in-state, and that may be the case. But, I need to follow up on that a little bit more. I just kind of want to acknowledge that that's out there. But no, this was a guy that they just said he's too good for us not to take. They just like him a lot and didn't want it to be a deal where, okay, we're going to wait on Dendy and we're going to wait on McClellan, and then we lose out on one of those guys and try to offer him. Well, then by then, hometown Texas has gotten involved or A&M's involved. We've lost the momentum we had. And so I think now they know, they've got a pretty good hold on him, and he's already come up a couple of times. And like I said, I mean, this is a real long, athletic guy. I'm going to go see him next week. I'm real excited about it. I want to get my first look at him. And I think this is a guy, like I said, that this isn't some, plan B. This is just a guy they liked a lot more in person than they expected to.
Is it, I guess, a wrong way to look at it when you say, well, I mean, Dennis Johnson, the defensive line coach at Baylor, Dave Aranda signed off on him. They know something about playing good defense. It must fit some type of mold.
You mentioned that. I think it's a great point, Eddie. I know, again, Scott Halfley, it's not Jeff Halfley. Jeff Halfley at Boston College was the DC at Ohio State, and he'd offered him. He'd come all the way from, the East Coast, offer that kid from, the Central Texas area. So, you get into that, and it's kind of, those guys know what they're looking at. They know what they're looking for. And, at some point, and some people on the board have kind of asked me about this, how much longer can we doubt this staff's ability to make evaluations? They keep finding guys that, either blow up during recruiting or they get to campus and you're like, wow, that guy's really good. I mean, people were like, who's Dante Manning? And then Dante Manning ended up as like a top 10 corner in the country and everybody wanted him. So like now, you didn't get him. Now I think you come to this point in time, maybe that story goes differently. Oklahoma's changed the narrative on their defense enough. But, this is a guy, like I said, you talk about the things Alex Grinch wants. He wants athleticism. He wants length. And he'll work out the finer points. He believes in his staff's ability to develop if he gets the physical traits he's looking for. And this guy, from everything I gather, impressive wingspan. Like he checks all the boxes that OU's looking for. And again, I'm excited to see him. I'm going to try to see Xavier Bryce next week as well. Get kind of out in the road when things start getting to full pads here in Texas. And, from everything I've gathered, there's plenty to be excited about with both of those guys.
I just saw a Detroit Lions writers put this out there about Dan Campbell.
Have you heard?
Crazy-ass head coach.
Have you heard his Starbucks order?
I'm just finding it out right now.
It's amazing.
So he gets 2 40-ounce coffees with 2 shots of espresso each.
In each. 2 of the Ventis.
My heart would explode.
Heart or butthole?
No, like if I have
it might be
cups
both.
of coffee, like it literally makes me feel like I'm having a heart attack.
Dan Campbell goes straight to the toilet when he gets to the Lions facility. He has to.
Probably destroys that Starbucks bathroom.
Just doesn't even get through it.
Yeah.
Dude,
he's definitely having that second one on the shitter.
I'm cheering for the Lions because I like Dan Campbell's press conferences, but he has said some just wild shit.
It feels like absolute boomer bust. Like it's going to go great or it is going to crash historically bad. Like, and I lean toward the latter because it's the Lions. That's the easy bet to make.
Yeah, there's no there's no basis in thinking the Lions. I don't think they've ever been good in my lifetime. And they traded away their quarterback. I think Stafford's going to have a really good year with the Rams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you seen some of the videos? Like it's just vertical. Like we're just throwing vertical all day to Cooper Kupp, all those guys. They're just gonna go downfield.
I can imagine.
Josh, do you have a quarterback preference for the Colts?
Phillip Rivers. I don't know what the high school coaching situation's going like, but maybe we need to call him on.
They already quoted him yesterday saying there was somebody out there doing a story on him, and he already said that if he's staying in shape and if a team needs him at the end of the season, he's more than willing to get back into it.
Guys, don't get me wrong. Like I had, like every fan, like I had chosen like Carson Wentz. Like he had all that success. He and oh God, I'm just blanking on the head. Reich. They've had all the success. They can do this, and then that happens. You're like, oh, okay, that kind of sucks. But that was coming. Like I probably deserved that. Like I let myself believe some bullshit, and that's my own fault. Quentin Nelson, that guy's like, he's my favorite player to watch. Like I'm that in love with offensive line play. That breaks my heart. I'm like, I I don't even know if I want to watch the Colts. Like, who am I going to watch? T.Y. Hilton and all his long touchdowns? Screw him. I want to watch somebody get buried inside, but that just...
The good news is with a guy like Quentin Nelson, he will be back. As soon as they tell him he can walk, I would imagine he's going to be back on the football field.
That dude would play with crutches if they'd let him.
Right.
Like, I mean, he's just wired that way. And, like, I mean, he really is. You know, because... And Eddie, I mean, is like a Cubs fan. Like you have guys that, at any given time are your favorite players. Now, I know they're all gone now, Eddie, but I mean, like next season you can look forward to it.
I don't know. I don't know why you're throwing me and Bob under the bus like that. Split up the staff like that. And B, maybe we'll put a bounty out for Tom Ricketts. You bringing me his head, I'll give you a year subscription.
But like, there are guys that even like over any given time, they're still among your favorite. Like Quentin Nelson will be 60, and I will still talk about him as one of my favorite Colts players ever because he's my exact he's my type. He's my kind of guy. Like that's what football looks like to me.
I think somebody this morning said in terms of Carson Wentz, they're like, is that not the weirdest timeline that you've ever heard from someone about when someone might come back 5 to 12 weeks? It's like, is he coming back from an injury or is he waiting for cable to come install? Like it
is a very open-ended.
Like 5 to 12 weeks? Like that's 7 weeks. Like you
he'll
can't
call
narrow
Frank
it down
Reich when he's on his
bit?
way.
That's so bizarre. And it kind of hamstrings you as an organization because like if he is back in 5 weeks, they probably don't need to go out and get Phillip Rivers.
It's good for our old buddy Sam though. Ellinger. I guess he's like he's the second.
I would love to see Sam Ellinger.
Oh, I don't think he's
as an
going
NFL
to.
Quarterback.
He's going to be like the preseason guy, won't he? Because who'd they sign? They signed somebody, didn't they?
They have somebody notable.
Well, it was a retread, right?
They got the Hundley guy.
Oh, Brett Hundley.
Yeah.
That's right. That's who he'll be the retread.
But there's
for them.
another. Who's their other quarterback, Josh? Besides Ellinger?
Jacob Eason's
Eason, the Georgia kid or the Washington kid.
Yeah. I mean, and he's got like talent. I mean, so I mean, there's a reason to think like, okay, Frank Reich, as good as he's been, God, he made Jacoby Brissett a functional NFL quarterback. Like, there's reason to think like maybe we could be okay especially like you said, if it's for 5 weeks and we've really only got to get through, a couple early season games, that kind of thing, as Wentz gets himself back up to speed. But if it's 12, like I mean, honestly, like, who are you going to get that's going to fix it? Like, who's going to go? Like, is Phillip Rivers really going to help us? You guys know me. Let's go get us a top 5 pick. Let's go. Let's figure that problem out. Get whoever's going to be that guy next year. We'll go get that solution rather than trying to stopgap it and get another number 18 overall pick. We don't make the playoffs and we don't get a draft pick that's worth a damn.
Well, you can just suffer through this year and get Aaron Rodgers next year.
Hey, I'm good with that. That I will take that future Super Bowl that is waiting for us. We may have child entry. Yeah. I'm getting looked at through the glass door here. This is not good. This is bad.
You're going to walk out to a house that has it's just going to be dropped off the side of the mountain.
I honestly haven't seen either one of them in about 30 minutes, and this is the one that would absolutely escape, so I'm kind of glad. I'm like, okay, she's alive. Because there was something at the door earlier, and I was like, God, she didn't go out the front door, did she? And I felt good. This is how dedicated I am to the podcast. I was like, I can't go check on her. I'm pretty sure she's here. I'm like 87%.
Much appreciated.
Yeah. Layla, you want to say hi to anybody? You come say hi?
Hello. Hi.
Wow, hello.
Hello.
Hi, Layla. What do you know about Building 7?
Yeah. So she can't hear you all, but she is very happy to talk into the mic whenever possible.
I will say, I think you retweeted it the other day, but CeeDee Lamb I'm so excited to watch him on Hard Knocks over the next couple weeks.
Yeah.
He looks like Tuesday nights. Looks like he's going to have an incredible year. And the other thing I was going to say, Sterling Shepard, they put out a video on the Giants Twitter about him. He was just catching a pass or whatever. This is insane to me, but I had somebody tell me the other week that he's the second most tenured New York Giant on the roster right now.
Wow.
That made me feel 1,000,000 years old.
Daddy, I want to go potty.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys heard that.
Yeah, we did.
My 3-year-old needs to potty. So you guys continue Sterling Shepard. I will return as quickly as possible.
Well, it's a good time. Eddie, you brought it up. It's a good time to go over the Board of Regents meeting that happened. Joe Harris and Joe Castiglione both spoke publicly during it. And just overall, kind of your biggest takeaways from being there covering that, Bob.
Yeah, I was amazed, first off, that they talked a combined 35 minutes. I thought we'd be there like 5 minutes. They'd have a prepared statement, some brief comments, and then they'd be out the door. But Harris really just laid it out to everyone. And I think, I'm not sure what the national reception looked like. I saw some national people look like you just making one excuse after another. But, I mean, he really, if you want to know why they made this move, he gave you step by step and instant by instant as to why this is what they wanted to do. Well, one thing you could tell from Joe and Joe, they definitely hated how it got out. You can tell that the respect that they have and the friendships that they have within people in the Big 12, it's obviously fractured now, and they hope they can repair those going forward. But the way that just kind of sprung out of nowhere, 2 Wednesdays ago, was not the ideal setting of how they wanted to let all these people know that they've known for years and years that, their time is coming to an end.
Yeah, I mean, it was going to be tough regardless. And look, you're kind of pulling a dick move. I mean, you're pulling a dick move.
Oh, it's a full dick move.
Yeah, it's
I don't even think it's a half.
It's not
dick
even kind of.
move.
Yeah, it's a
It's
dick
like
move.
see ya.
But at the same time, it's self-preservation. It's pulling the Band-Aid off of something that just was not going to work in the long run. I mean, look at it now. Look at, OU's having trouble building, baseball and softball facilities. The West End seems like a pipe dream of the football stadium. So,
Yep.
This is something that can get them back on track to, upgrading their facilities, and hell, maybe it'll help with basketball. I mean, I personally am.
I think there's going to be a trickle-down effect to all sports. I think it's going to happen overnight to where it's going to be, you don't notice it until you do notice it, if that makes sense. It's like, oh, shit, they're building this. They're doing this.
Is that when you start doing that, then all of a sudden it's going to be like 10 years later, and then football is going to, the Switzer Center is going to look outdated, which sounds crazy to say.
No, I mean, it kind of already is. Like, even with all the stuff.
Nuts.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's the upkeep on stuff like that. I mean, when they first built it, I was like, hey, this is really nice. I wonder how long this is going to last before it looks dated. Because that's the way everything works.
Yeah. It was funny listening to Harris talk, because it was like, oh, yeah, he is a lawyer. Like, as he went through, like, the entirety of the speech or whatever that he gave. I don't know.
But his way of talking about Bedlam and OSU, I mean, that was so matter of fact.
Yeah.
Like, man, that's got to hurt for people to hear, but that's what we've been saying, but it was nice to hear someone in an official capacity lay it out. This is what we prefer, but this is the preference that we can no longer have happen for us.
I don't know what you guys have heard, but I do think that they were obviously not upset and it would ruin anything, but I think that the way that the news broke, they were like, if anything in how OU has handled this, I think that they're just a little taken aback at how it looked from a outside looking in, if that makes sense. Like, it's like, yeah, we do look like dicks to OSU. We didn't want it to come across that way, even though there's really not much you could have done without telling them.
No. I mean, you were going to be a dick at some point. It's just, when do you want to be that dick?
Right. They wanted to kind of let him down easy, I guess, would be the best way to say it.
But it really is. I mean, everybody's going to be injured out of this, but you almost feel like Oklahoma State is injured more than anyone. Of course, maybe it was the same with TCU and Tech and Baylor, and that they relied on Texas, to kind of help spur along their season ticket sales. But like, OSU really did rely on Oklahoma to fill that stadium all throughout the year. I mean, because Oklahoma State does it where they only sell a ticket package, and even if they don't sell out their stadium, they don't go to individual tickets. So you would get all these OU fans that would buy tickets and not even go to the games, just to make sure they could get tickets when OU played there. So their entire ecosystem, first off, they were making a lot of money, but probably not enough to compete with the Big Ten and the SEC. Now they're going to make less money, and they still have to try and compete with everybody. It's a horrible situation for them. And so I can see why you get people that are just flying off the handle like they are.
Listen, I mean,
it's just a disaster for them.
To be honest with you, if I was Oklahoma State, they've handled it a lot more professionally than I would have.
Yeah. Yeah, they've had basically one just roast statement that's been put out there when basically said, you aligned yourself with Texas instead of us. How dare you? You're the lowest of lows.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for a president to say that, it's a pretty clean shot, is it not?
Yeah, just the roller coaster nature of, you probably should have put that out there and then the next day put out the one about we're going to be good, we're a great institution, we're going to secure our future.
Sure. And as it turns out, I mean, who knows? I said this morning, but I'm almost to the point now where it's like, OU, and I said at the beginning of the podcast, it's like OU knows where they're headed, and like how much longer is this going to go? Is this going to be like in the middle of the season, and Mike Gundy or whoever, insert whatever Big 12 coach from the I-88, are they going to have to answer questions about this during the middle of the season? At some point, is there going to be like some kind of ceasefire where it's like
conference?
Don't talk about it anymore.
About that, yep.
Well, let's say I think that Lincoln is like telling players like you can talk about it at media day, but after that it's over. We don't talk about SEC, but you're always going to have national media coming in or people from other markets, that are going to ask about it.
Yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen for sure. But like, I guess what I'm saying is
by the way,
in the next 2.5 weeks, are they going to get something ironed out to where OSU knows where they're headed?
Yeah, by the way,
does Kansas know where they're headed in a week?
With 12-minute interviews, we probably don't need to waste questions on SEC because none of these guys are ever going to play in the SEC.
Oh, that's going to be the best. I know you won't be around, but what do you think about OU?
It's almost as good as asking.
I'll strangle somebody.
This when you weren't on campus and this game happened.
Yes. I know that you weren't around. You might have been in high school. Did you watch that game? No.
Do you remember? Like what? What the heck do you want me to say?
I wasn't born the last time OU
or somebody
played.
like just Latrell McCutcheon's like no, I grew up in Austin. I wasn't watching OU at the time. It's like, and then the fan base, well, he didn't grow up an OU fan. Him.
Do you remember the last time OU played Nick Saban and he was LSU? I was 3. No, I don't remember that at all.
Exactly. I did think it was kind of interesting this morning that I guess Pete Thamel just tweeted it out that Notre Dame's game against Toledo is going to be exclusively streamed on Peacock and not televised on NBC. It's like the first time in like 20-something years that NBC's losing a
home game.
Yeah.
Well, they're doing it to try and get all those Notre Dame people to
and stuff.
Subscribe to the Peacock.
It's just another example of
and that's why
the way things are headed.
That's why brands matter more now than eyeballs.
It is funny to look through this thread and all the Notre Dame fans like, next thing you're going to tell us there's going to be a pay-per-view game. I was like, if these people only knew.
Yeah, will it be like the Peacock? Will it be like, okay, regular streamers can have this, but if you don't, like you have to pay an extra $30 or something like they do with the movies?
I don't know. It better be like golf and they put it in through the pay for pass or whatever, and you still watch commercials. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm screwed because I get free Hulu because of Spotify, but then I can't buy like the bundle package with ESPN Plus, Disney, and Hulu.
You can't?
It won't let me because I'm already a Hulu subscriber, which I don't pay for it.
It's ridiculous.
It would only save me like $1 a month or something. But anyway, no. But I mean, that's what I've wondered about Notre Dame. Like, how do they not just join the ACC? Because how do you survive as an independent in this world?
Arrogance.
I'm just saying financially, how do you survive? Like, who's going to be able to pay them $50 million
a year?
A year.
Nobody.
So I don't understand how they don't just join the ACC, or how they're not a bigger conversation piece about joining a SEC or somebody.
Big Ten.
And by the way, isn't the Big 12 pretty much, if they have an alliance with the Pac-12, aren't they pretty much screwing over West Virginia?
Yes.
Just like OU in Texas screwed over the Big 12 pretty much, right?
I had an interesting conversation with a guy from West Virginia, and he made it, I don't know, maybe I've been living in the dark on this, but he made it seem like West Virginia just never really felt like they were welcomed to the Big 12. Just as far as the travel on basketball stuff. And Bob, we've heard Huggins talk about this after games, you had to take a flight back to Morgantown, and then all of a sudden you're getting up to go to class an hour later after you get back into Morgantown. It's it really is kind of a shitty situation for them.
It is, especially for hoops.
And so now you think they're going to be flying to Palo Alto for a Tuesday night basketball game? That just it doesn't make sense.
No, yeah.
You can't do that.
By the way, the Pac-12 basketball schedule sucks. I don't even know where it is or where they play.
Who?
The Pac-12. I rarely ever see their games.
Vegas Championship.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Interestingly enough, the NBC and Notre Dame TV deal ends after the 2025 season.
It's amazing how 2024 and 2025, every TV contract just runs out.
Well, you mentioned it, just how ridiculous this time is. I saw that post. I think I sent it to the War Room that Brett McMurphy had about every rumor that was out there, or that has been repeated. And a lot of it is just by local radio guys that are trying to do their Chip Brown impersonations from the missile crisis, where the guy came on and said KU was to the Big Ten was imminent and all this, and
well, that is one of the reported it, and then he literally came back and was like, "Well, I'm not really saying that."
Yeah.
It was world record backtracking.
The radio station was like, "So and so was just on, and they said that KU is in talks to join the Big Ten," and he was like, and then he quote tweeted their tweet, and he was like, "Well, that's not exactly what I said. Or at least I don't believe that as strongly as I did when I said it." So, you're going to have all kinds of crap. I do think, I do hope that the Big 12 and the Pac-12 come to some alliance. Because, I want to see those teams suffer and struggle and go to the AAC and basically become mid-majors overnight. Nobody really wants to see that.
No. Agreed. I keep seeing people like, "Oh, there's no way this." Man, I don't see any way. It's basically like Russian roulette. Somebody eventually is going to get scared and be like, I got to pull the trigger, because they're going to get convinced the ACC would take Kansas, or the Big Ten would take, Oklahoma State or Iowa State, whatever it may be. There's going to be some conference that's going to just be like, we don't want them going somewhere else. We need all the strength we can get, and we'll take it right now. Now, anybody that takes Iowa State's going to be like, we need Matt Campbell on a absolutely zero out clause contract as quickly as humanly possible.
Well, he's getting a ton of money, and he got extended, and he's had every opportunity to jump ship. But I said this to people on the board. They're like, well, what does all this uncertainty mean for Alex Grinch getting a head coaching job? And I said, I think it makes it harder for Alex Grinch to get a head coaching job, because you are going to find coaches that find themselves no longer essentially in Power 5 jobs. Like Dave Aranda did not sign up for this.
I feel like this is one of my better takes that I've said over the last 2 years. I think being a defense coordinator or a coordinator at a blue blood, quote unquote, like being the defense coordinator at Oklahoma is just straight up a better job than being the head coach at North Texas. Or I would even go as far to say like in Arizona right now. Just to throw two names that have been out there here in the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. I think it's a better job. I mean, he's making 1.8 next year or this year.
And you would expect that all coaches will be getting paid more with the new deal with the SEC.
100%.
Although, again, we don't know when that's going to take effect.
But like the days of, and there's going to be particular cases where a guy just wants to go get his own job. He wants to go get his own thing. But like the days of, the Alabama defensive coordinator, whoever, Pete Golding or whoever, if he wants to be a head coach, I don't think that you have to make that jump to Miami of Ohio now or to Akron or Toledo or wherever. Just wait. And you can be the next Shane Beamer, possibly. That might be a bad example.
Here's the problem. The problem is, if you're at Baylor, you're at Texas Tech, you're at Oklahoma State, as I mentioned before, you're trying to compete against all these teams, but you're all making the same amount of money. Now, you're making less money. You can't pay your assistants as much as they are at Oklahoma or Texas A&M, or anywhere else in the Power 5. And so now you're expected to do more with less. Your recruiting budget won't be as high as everybody else. Like, if you're a really good coach, and I'm sure Gary Patterson isn't much longer for coaching in college football, but if it was a young Gary Patterson, the guy at Kansas State, I mean,
is TCU a good job when the dust settles? Is that still a good job? I mean, they might be back in the Mountain West.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think they will be, but. Like Baylor and TCU, if I'm Baylor and TCU, I'm terrified of how this whole thing turns out.
I mean, those are two programs that, could be Mountain West type teams in 5 years.
It's crazy to say that.
Viewed like that.
It's crazy to say that, and then you look at the Baylor athletic department, they're the defending national champions in basketball.
When Baylor got in the Big 12, they were terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, they were they were ready
it shows you why they were so willing to look the other way on.
They were ready to be like Louisiana Monroe, kind of that level of team.
Yeah,
maybe even like South Alabama. Oh, yeah, I mean the only reason they were in the Big 12 is because they got politically strong-armed. The league did,
sure,
or at least Texas did.
Not anymore.
There's no political strong-arming happening now, which is really interesting. Which I think is good because. Every time something like that would come after, the state legislature's not going to let that happen. Well, come to find out, they never could do shit in the first place. And that was all David Boren.
It is kind of amazing, the political gymnastics that used to happen, I guess. It doesn't feel like it happens as much with a politician not as the president anymore. And maybe that's just completely me being a little biased because I didn't like the guy. I don't know. Maybe not.
No comment for me.
That's fair. Me and Joe are we're Panthers together.
I already fight with people about lawns, so I can only fight about one subject with everybody.
Oh, I'll take on the politicians any day. They're trash.
Okay.
Disgusting humans.
Way to go, Governor. You're not drumming up very much support for your run.
I don't know. Last guy that took that stance was the president, so we'll see.
Terry, I mowed at 8:30 in the morning yesterday in honor of you. So just yep.
But that's a week. That's a weekday, so you're good, right?
Morning.
It was gonna rain. Well, it was gonna rain. It's been raining the last day and a half. So it's I've either got to do it now or I won't get it done. Basically before trash day, and that grass just stinking up the whole house. I'm like, nope, not doing that. So
we're okay though with the morning weekdays. Perfectly fine, right?
Yeah, I don't like the weekend when I can sleep in.
It's the weekend. It's the morning weekend, guys, that you don't want.
I mean, look, I'm not fighting about it. When it's 100 degrees outside, fine. But 7:30 is still a little. At least you were 8:30. 8:30 is fine. I mean, and the thing is, I don't give a shit because I'm up at 5:30 every day, so it doesn't really bother me. I was trying to speak out for the little guy, but then the yard hardos, man.
I see. My thing is, I don't get to have a take because I don't have a yard.
Yeah, that's
my
even
official.
better.
That's my official take. I don't get to have a take. I don't have a yard.
Josh. I mean, you basically have a nanny. I can't believe that you don't hire out your yard.
I like working in my yard. I enjoy it. That's something I like to do.
You need to enjoy more working.
The
That's what you need to enjoy then.
Here we go. Yeah.
You need to enjoy traveling to see people more. See, I can be a Crimson Corner member. If you got
here
time
we
to
go.
mow, you're not working hard enough.
Yeah, that I don't doubt for a minute that that's the take. They're $9.99 a month. That I should literally never leave the computer.
Yeah, I pay
the hell
you
are you doing sleeping,
$9.99.
Josh?
I pay you $9.90 to not mow your yard, to pay somebody else to do
Yep.
it.
You son of a bitch.
No, I shouldn't say that after the week that I've had, after the dick that I've been. So, all right. Anything else anybody of note wants to throw out there, or anything of note that any of you want to throw out there? You don't have to be of note to throw it out there.
I don't think so. It's football season.
Yep.
Media day coming up tomorrow, so going to have a lot of content on the site over the
It's
weekend.
really late. I know.
Yeah,
Usually it's like at noon. It's
5
not.
o'clock is when we're done. So
it's.
I would say we'll have a
yeah.
notes out that evening, and then on Friday we'll have even more content coming out, and plenty of video from Eddie as well on Scoop HD. And get ready, lots of things coming that we'll be able to tell you about soon here at Sooner Scoop. Taking things to another level, and Josh is really happy about it. Right, Josh?
You mean the thing I've been pushing for the whole time? Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm ready for it. Let's do it.
I have to get to Josh's house at some point. You free Friday?
As in,
Or is it still a COVID compound?
yeah, you'd probably duck that. Now the following week would probably be worked, but
Okay.
other than that, yeah.
It's
So-
fake anyway.
Eddie,
here.
stop it.
Damn
Okay,
it.
okay, double vaccinated and had it, and probably thought he had it again.
I did think I had it again, but I didn't. Delta doesn't want me.
All right, that's going to do it. This podcast mercifully comes to an end. Appreciate you listening. Thanks to all you guys for being a part of it. Josh, Eddie, Bob, I'm Kerry Murdoch, and we'll see you again next week on another edition of the Unofficial 40 Podcast from Soonerscoop.com.